There's a lot more possible for you than you might realize. One of the things that we want to discover is that we have an imagination and we have the ability to rearrange the structure of our minds. It's ultimately the way that we think and that we feel within our own consciousness is going to determine the results in our physical life. So today I wanted to share with you part of a lecture by Neville Goddard named Rearrange the Mind so you can achieve whatever you want. So let's get right into it.
The rich man, the poor man, the beggar man, the thief are not different minds, but simply different arrangements of the same mind. There is only God in this world. So when you say I am, and I say I am, it's the same God, but we have arranged the structure of our mind differently. We have different concepts of self. And that's all. But not one is better because he is richer than the one who is poor. These are only different arrangements of the structure of the mind.
Now, when we're talking about rearranging the mind, we want to understand we're working with our imagination. This is a pretty interesting power, because if we think about it, if you look at your reasoning factor, your ability to think about certain ideas in order to improve your life, or your perception, or other mental faculties that I talked about in one of my audiobooks that is on my channel. On top of all these mental faculties, I personally believe that imagination is the most powerful mental faculty that we have, because it can influence all other mental faculties that we generally brush aside throughout our lives. We don't really work with them consciously, and that's what we want to do. That's what Neville also talked about in his lecture, Rearrange the Mind. Now, in order to make this easier for you, or at least that's the goal, to make it easier, to try to make it easier, I have a picture here that I will be showing on the screen right now. Right, I got it on my monitor over here for myself, and as you can see in the top left corner, it says, don't look at the outside world using your senses. Look inside your mind through your imagination. Now, when I say don't look out to the outside world using your senses, I don't mean that you should be oblivious and not pay attention at all to anything that's going on around you, because your senses, of course, serve a purpose in order to make it easy for you to navigate through your physical life. Now, the problem is, when we're talking about rearranging the structure of your mind, you can only do that if you use your imagination correctly. You have to change the constructs. If I put that correctly, that might sound a bit weird. The concepts of the mind, I think that works better. Now, Neville talked about the I amness being the same for everyone. Well, this is very, very important. Listen to this. You have number one on the picture. It says conscious mind. The I amness, you name it. What I mean by that is, if you create a sort of quote, I am wealthy, I am rich, I'm successful, I'm happy, I am full of love. You can make up anything you want for yourself, of course, that's the goal. But this I amness is part of your conscious mind. Now, people can consciously think of improving their lives, but that doesn't mean that it's going to improve. Because what's missing? Well, it's step two. It's that subconscious mind. The I amness, you feel it. So what I mean by that is you have to be emotionally involved in what you are deciding upon, on where you want to go with your life. So you feel an emotional connection to your own imaginary states, and that creates the rearrangement of your mind. That creates that change of your self-image, of how you think about yourself, your life, and ultimately the sort of ideas that you attract to you that can help you improve your life. Now, the third step, or number three, at the bottom says the body. This is the obvious part that we all have. Right now you're looking at my body. It's communicating to you through this video. However, there's more to me than meets the eyes, and it's the same for you. We want to learn to work with our conscious and subconscious mind. It says you express the concepts you are holding about yourself mentally. So here, this is what you want to grasp. When Neville talked about rearranging the mind, look at these three steps in this picture and imagine it going like this, from the conscious mind to the subconscious mind, into the body, and then through the body it's expressed into your physical life. Now that is exactly what he talked about. That is why it's important to rearrange the structure of your mind if you want to improve the quality of your life. Now, how do you do that? Many people, they have a sort of difficulty with this, and I know exactly why that is. It's because of something we call habits. We are usually in the habit, most of us, to let the outside world control our minds, as I always talk about. But now we want to create a new habit. We want to create the habit of focusing through imagination on where we actually want to go with our lives. Now this takes time, this takes practice even, because most people, they think they're not creative. But as I said in one of my books, everybody is creative. The problem is we're using our own creativity to create the limitations that we complain about. Now we look back at this picture again. It says we use our imagination to see and feel what we want to be. How do I apply this in my own life? Well, I used to have another channel with about 50,000 subscribers, which is technically not a lot, but some people, they might find that that's a lot of subscribers that you could achieve on YouTube itself. What I honestly did, and what I'm doing with this channel as well, is I created a clear vision, of what I wanted. I saw the end result in my conscious mind through my imagination. Then I fell in love with that vision. That's where you invoke a subconscious response from the depths of your being. You start to connect your subconscious mind with this idea that you build in your conscious. This is why people talk a lot of the times about, you know, if your subconscious mind is full of worries and doubts and limitations and all sorts of negative stuff, then it might be hard to improve your life, simply because the emotional response within you might be driven by negative vibrations, quite literally, energetic vibrations. So I felt in love with what I saw in my imagination, and I suggest you do the same. If you have a goal in life, something you want to improve, be very clear about what it is that you want, and then dare to fall in love with that dream. Dare to fall in love with your goals, because once you do it, that's when you receive the power to make it happen.
Now, how do I look into the law, the perfect law, which sets me free, the law of liberty? I look into my mind. I'm now imprisoned. I've heard the sentence. I know exactly how long I'm supposed to serve. Now I look into the law of liberty in my mind. And I assume that I am free. I'm set free. How? I am not concerned. Who brought it about? I am not concerned. I simply look into the perfect law, the law of liberty, and I dare to assume that I am free. If I dare to assume that I am free, I rearrange the structure of my mind, the same mind that heard the sentence that I accepted when I heard it. Now I do not accept it.
Now, this second part of his quote ended actually with him saying, I rearranged the structure of my mind, the same mind that heard the sentence, that I accepted when I heard it. Now this is interesting because he's talking about one of your sensory factors of hearing. He said he accepted the limitation that he heard coming from the outside world. Somebody might tell you that you can't do something. Are you going to accept that? Most of us are accepting those limitations because we're trained to live through the senses. We're trained to let the outside world control us. We want to stop doing that. Just discard it. If somebody gives you a limiting idea, just throw it out. You can do that. Did you know that? You have a conscious mind that can accept or reject ideas. Now, once you reject the idea, what are you going to do? Well, you immediately, or at least you have to train yourself to apply your imagination to see what you want instead of that limiting idea that somebody or someone else or something else gave you. And that is how we are raised. We're raised with all sorts of funny, limiting ideas. But nobody is usually raised with the idea of use your imagination to see the sort of life that you want and then create that for yourself. But you can do that. And it's because of those patterns within the subconscious mind that are emotionally driving us that it makes it more difficult for many people to apply this material. Because they can study it, they can repeat the words, but they don't emotionally feel enough I could say, motivation, passion, excitement to make the change happen that they are wanting to make happen in their lives. This is something very important that you have to grasp. You can think about what you want all day long. It doesn't mean that you're going to get it though, because if you only think or imagine about it without an emotional response, you'll never be motivated to make it happen to begin with. You won't feel inspired. Now Neville talked about you don't have to do anything, you have to imagine the end results. But this can only work if you also emotionally are in harmony with that end result. Because what happens then is that you become automatically motivated and inspired to do certain things that will change your reality around. You don't have to really worry about it. Like with me in these videos, I don't really stress over like, what am I going to do? How am I going to do it? How can I do this? How can I get this? I mean, I don't think about it. I go to the end result again, like he suggested, and I rearrange the structure of my mind. Meaning, I adjust myself according to that vision that I have inside my imagination so it can move into form. This is something you want to start doing with your own dreams, starting today. Stuff like this is it's so powerful, this material, but a lot of times in conversations I've had with people in my own life, what I notice is that because we're so trained out of habit to live through the senses again, and we're raised in a society where if we go through the school system, they're teaching us to repeat information. They're not really teaching us to apply the information we're receiving. So in this case, many people are also in the habit of studying this material, but in a manner that they're able to remember it and repeat it. But what you want to start doing is not just remember it, but apply it. I mean, you probably realize this. It makes a lot of sense if you think about it. If I study something but not apply it, how would my life improve? Well, what happens for most people, I suppose, is that they study it for a long time and maybe they're still having difficulty with applying it in their lives. And they don't understand why. They're like, I have studied this for quite some time, but it's still not working out, or something still doesn't make a lot of sense to me, René. What can I do about that? Well, first of all, it depends on what you're struggling with, because that's different for everybody else, of course. But if you're somebody that has studied this material for quite some time for yourself, what you simply want to learn to understand and want to do is measure the results that you're currently getting according to this information, according to the information that he talked about. You want to measure it. Am I actually imagining the end results that I'm after? If so, your life must improve. But what you're going to discover with many people is that they're not really applying it. I have seen this happen with so many people, and I hope you don't make that mistake. So many people study this material but don't apply it. Okay, so you look at your life. Where do you want to go? What would it look like if it were a reality to you? How would it make you feel? Invoke that emotional response within the depths of your own being. How would you feel if your dream were now a reality? And then watch what happens. But you have to develop that ability to stay focused on that vision. This means you have to develop your willpower, your concentration, whatever you want to call it, persistence. If you do that, then this material can work for you. As he so beautifully said, how do I look into the law? The perfect law which sets me free, the law of liberty. Well, I look into my mind. That's exactly what I do every night myself, actually throughout the day as well. But right now I'm not doing it necessarily, but I could do it. What I do for myself, indeed, is I close my eyes and I go inside my imagination and I see exactly what I'm after. That's all I'm doing. And I get excited about it. I'm like, hell yeah, we're gonna do this, man. All right, I got a clear plan. It all follows the imaginary state, the plan, the steps that you need to take. That so-called bridge of incidents that he talked about appears once you are clear on where you actually want to go. Because without that, you don't have it starts to function as a compass, you could say, as a roadmap, as I like to say myself. So if that's missing, well, the bridge of incidents cannot occur in your life, which is simply another way of saying you'll be inspired to do certain things. And then when you take action on those inspired ideas, more and more aspects of your vision start to move into a form, and that is also a result of you rearranging the structure of your mind. So if you're living in poverty right now, you want to start imagining wealth. If you're in debt right now, you want to start imagining being free being financially independent. So when I say being free, I don't mean being free from debt. You want to stop thinking about debt and start imagining prosperity. You start focusing on what you want. Forget all the jazz that you don't want. I know it's hard. It takes practice, it takes training. But just like a muscle, you can get very, very good at this. And the more you train it, the more powerful you become as a human being. I know this because it works for me, so it can work for you. But as long as you can understand these words of Neville's, this video, then you can apply it. Many people want to have a better relationship. They want to have a better love life. How do you do it? Rearrange the structure of your mind. Instead of thinking about not having somebody in your life that you desire to have there, start thinking about having them. Start imagining yourself with your perfect partner and start focusing on that. Fall in love with your perfect partner before they even show up in your physical life. How do you like that one? Trust me, if you do that, again, you're rearranging the structure of your mind, causing you to become inspired according to new ideas. A bridge of incidents appears, you take actions according to those inspired ideas, and lo and behold, there's a new person in your life, and they are just as wonderful as you imagined them to be. I've heard stories like this. I know this works. I personally haven't applied this concerning my love life, because right now I'm not really focused on that, but many people are. If you're one of them, test this out for yourself. If you want to improve your love life, you simply focus on the perfect relationship inside your imagination. Now, this doesn't mean that you focus on a specific individual in this world. You focus on the aspects that you admire or that you would admire in your perfect partner if you had the perfect relationships, and then you start to invoke an emotional response by falling in love with that vision, by asking yourself over and over again, how would I feel if I now had the perfect relationship in my life? How would you feel if you were now wealthy? How would I feel if I would now be successful? How would you feel if you now had the very thing you desire to have, do, or be in your life? That is using your subconscious mind. You see, you use your conscious mind to imagine what you want, but then by asking how would I feel, you're getting your subconscious mind to work with you, and the two become one. And that is when you can move mountains. In this case, the mountains of all the obstacles that are in your way. Get away from those obstacles, throw them out, become free. Really looking at it honestly, everything in life that you want starts inside your consciousness. Specifically, if you really want to get into the details, it starts inside your imagination. If you want to improve your life, the only thing you got to do is, as Neville said, rearrange your mind. But you could also say you need to rearrange the structure of your imagination. You need to rearrange the states of imagination that you're working from. For example, you can't stay focused on poverty inside your imagination if you want to be wealthy. What you want to do is always start imagining the end result of what you're after. Now, this takes some thinking on your part. This takes some practice for most people. This takes practice for me on a daily basis. You know, you can get better and better at it, but it's something you gotta keep applying. You can't expect it to happen out of nowhere. Like Neville would say, you are the operant power. It does not work on its own. You're going to have to put in the effort to make it happen and to make it work for you. So keep that in mind. Now, rearrange the structure of your imagination by imagining the solution to your problem. It's so obvious if you think about it. If you're struggling with money right now, if you're deeply in debt again, you need money, lots of it. I don't know, maybe you do. Start imagining that you already have it, and all the ideas that need to come to you in order to make it so will be attracted to you. That is the beauty of working with your own imagination. Okay, so that was about it for the vlog. I hope you study it well, because the picture is mostly the thing that might make this a lot easier for you to understand. If you look at the picture in this video, it can definitely show you a sort of visual, symbolic way of how this process works. The 3 steps. You have your imaginary state, your I amness, needs to be led by what you want. Then you need to feel what you want, and then it starts to become expressed with and through the body, in and as your life. Study it very carefully. And with that being said, never forget that we are the dreamers. So I wanted to thank you for watching this video. If you want to see more inspirational videos, be sure to subscribe to this channel. It's also a good way to show your support. That way we can both work on expanding consciousness out of the darkness of ignorance into the light of wisdom.